here with Riot Games Senior Manager of Broadcast Engineering, Alex Rybalko. Hello, Alex.
Hi.
Thanks for coming over. So the first of Riot Games remote broadcast centres, or RBCs, powered by AWS, is in Dublin, Ireland, and the second launched in Seattle, US, 2 years ago. So, Alex, tell us about the Riot Games' goal in launching the Seattle facility. When does it? Well, we know it launched 2 years ago, but how does it help evolve what you're already doing in Dublin, and what caused you to need to launch it?
Yeah, so a bit of background. We've been doing esports at scale for quite a while, but at a certain point, we had 5 major regions all kind of doing the same thing. They were all doing a form of remote production, but we found that to scale beyond that, to continue the growth, and especially with new products coming online, we needed to change how we do things. So that's when the RBC project was born, and the first one came online in 2022 in Dublin. And the approach was always to kind of have a network of these broadcast centers that are fully remote and fully distributed across the world, but to have a phased approach to the project, because we always want to do cutting edge technology, cutting edge workflows, and by deploying that first in Dublin, it allowed us to have some learnings and refine the workflows before then proceeding with Seattle. So Seattle represents kind of a local presence for the Americas, so for the local leagues in the Americas to support those, but also gives us that 12 and 12-hour split across the globe. Our major international events, it's a big roadshow. We have 8 of them every year, and they move countries, and it's always different. So that support allows us not only to have kind of like that local presence in the region, but kind of split a bit of the resources between the 2 RBCs as well.
Sure, and tell me a bit more about the workflow. So you said the 12-12 follow the sun model. So how does the workflow work between the pair of them?
So, we do a kind of like a hybrid approach. It's all data center based, and we combine public and private cloud workflows. And the idea is to have a very modular approach to production. So having the right tool for the right job, but also everything being very replicable. So, solving things once, deploying many times. And all of our workflows, because especially like on the distribution side, cloud workflows are very easy to hand off. So for example, between the 2 RBCs, if we're doing a show, let's say in China, right, like, and the hours aren't quite good, we can do handoffs for our MCR mid-show even, so that one crew in Dublin will start the show and then hand it off mid-show to Seattle.
Cool. Okay, and you mentioned China there, so that's outside both time zones you've got. But the plan has always been, the plan that I've known has always been to open a 3rd RBC, and Asia Pacific was kind of named as the logical place to put that. So when are we likely to see that happening, or what needs to happen before you will progress onto that one? Yeah.
So the plan was always to have a network of 3. Currently, there are no concrete timelines for that. I think, like I mentioned, the phased approach, right? Like we, not only from a workflow and, production perspective, phasing it in, we're also looking at capacity, right? So when we opened up Dublin, it took us, 2 to 3 years to reach that 100% capacity, because as we onboard products, like I mentioned, like all of these products are long-standing and already existing, and we're onboarding them as customers into the RBC. So currently, Seattle is still in that ramp-up phase. So as we get towards that 100% capacity mark in Seattle as well, that's when we'll start looking at the APAC region as well.
So how much more do you need to grow to get to that 100% capacity? Because obviously it's already huge. So
Yeah, so the two centers are actually, carbon copies of each other. That's the whole modularity, because a lot of our talent and technicians, they travel, like, so some key positions, they will travel between the two depending on where the show takes place for time zone reasons. Between the two, there's like literally no difference. Even the furniture is the same. So the station for the technical director or the producer, they sit down and it's all the same. It's 6 control rooms per, so we've got like 12 control rooms worth of capacity for major shows, and then of course cloud and kind of like virtualized production on top of that. I would say we're probably at around 40 to 50% in Seattle. We're like, again, it's a continuing process. There's a lot of stuff that are coming in. We're launching new titles. 2XKO and Teamfight Tactics is also becoming really major esport. So we're trying to keep agile in that approach, because there's also peak capacity versus sustained capacity. So we need to really take that into consideration. A lot of our events take place at the same time, so that's our peak capacity, and then it kind of slows down a bit, but there's still always like those regional leagues that are continuing. So it is a bit dynamic. I would say we're halfway there.
Cool, okay. And you mentioned cloud and capacity there. I know you work with AWS. They've got kind of naming rights on
yes.
loads of stuff you do. So talk to me about AWS and how you guys work together and what they enable you to do.
So yeah, we have a very deep partnership with AWS. As you mentioned, they have the naming rights for our, actually this is a good slide for that. So the way that we use AWS is like, it's obviously it's public cloud, but there are certain strengths of that, right? Like, so burst capacity is one. We really utilize AWS heavily when we need to have like that concurrency, a high watermark, right? Also, a lot of the workflows really lend themselves well to cloud, like distribution. Like the amount of resiliency that you get, the flexibility, and just like global availability. That's unparalleled. So all of our distribution goes via AWS, and also like a lot of different workflows. So this is a good example here. This is our vertical feed. We've started broadcasting in vertical for all of our major products this year. And this is a bespoke feed. This isn't just kind of like your pan and scan type situation where you cut off the sides. This is a completely bespoke feed that's constructed from all of the elements of a regular feed. And we do a world feed model. So we actually also do a vertical world feed as well to our partners. And this is all done in AWS. So this is EC2, this is kind of Media Live, Media Connect workflows. So fully virtualized. This is also a zero operator workflow. So a lot of what we do in the cloud has to do with automation. And we're using kind of like the main world feed as the orchestration origin. And then that spreads out not even in a video audio format, but in the control plane format. So this is actually a completely bespoke feed that's done with zero operators.
Right, so no director.
No director,
yeah.
No technical, no vision mixer, no nothing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. And the punters are happy.
The partners are very happy.
Punters, sorry.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, like, vertical has been one of our most successful platforms, right? Like, we're seeing huge growth there, not only as like a gateway to our primary channels, but also as like the retention. Like, we're number one in retention on vertical, like out of any content.
Fab. Now, on to the audio side of things.
Yes.
Let's start with the big picture. What is audio for esports? How is it unique from other sports?
So audio in esports is quite unique because it combines basically some of the biggest moments in entertainment. Most of our major events, well, all of our major global events include a opening ceremony of some kind, which is basically a big concert that you have to do before the sport even starts. And then, of course, esports, it's one of the fastest growing fields, but also it's already quite huge in its own right. So it's also the biggest moments in sports. So those two aspects of esports kind of combine very different paradigms in how you capture audio and how you mix audio. And the added component is that like basically 80% of our content originates from in-game, right? Like, so it's a virtual playing field.
Yeah.
And being able to combine like this huge entertainment portion moving into a sports portion, which has all of the things that you would expect in traditional sports, but also a virtual playing field, that's quite a unique experience.
Yeah, and a complicated one.
Very, yes.
And so what are the challenges of doing that? You know, you've got, you know, entertainment, prez, gameplay, all these different sound sources and all that huge mix you've got to create. What are the challenges of doing that in a remote production, which is what you're doing in Dublin and Seattle?
Yeah, so basically everything that we do is remote, and it's like truly remote. It's all in a data center somewhere else. Even our broadcast centers, that we don't host any of the equipment there. It's all just kind of like a front-end control surface for the back end. And again, combination of private and public clouds. Of course, you know, we saw some talks here about latency. You know, that's a big one. Even though like we utilize some of the you know, cutting-edge technologies to reduce the latency as much as possible. You can only, you know, light only goes so fast in a fiber. So that is you know, something we have to contend with, especially with the added challenge of the virtual playing field. So when the fans in the arena, they're watching the game happen on screens, what they're actually seeing is that content originates, let's say, like in the arena where the players are, where the servers are, because that's where they play locally at zero latency. But that video signal that's captured by our in-game camera operators called observers then travels to the RBC or the data center where it actually gets cut into the show, right? Like, so all of that process happens in the data center, and then it's returned back to the venue to be put on the big screens. So a lot of that content that the audience sees, you know, originates there, but then goes through the RBCs. And there's, of course, you know, every generation of that back and forth adds a bit of latency. So we, you know, like Gabriel's situation was like very close to heart here, because you know, you would see reactions that happened before, right? Like, and that kind of spoils the moment. And then you know, commentators and all of that. So we actually developed a pretty not an automated, but a pretty sophisticated kind of paradigm for aligning all of that. So we have artificial delays that are introduced to be able to line things up. And in fact, we do both video and audio lineup because in a lot of ways, all of our graphics, all of our information that goes on screen is data driven, but that goes through its own process that introduces delay. So we actually have to line up the video to match the graphics, and then we have to line up the audio to match all of that. We're dealing with probably around 8 or 9 different time planes as well. You know, RF, AR, all of those things add latency, so we have to establish that baseline. But then also we talked about, you know, kind of like the audience side of things, and because everything originates in the server, you're playing everything over the PA, right? Like, there's nothing that's coming from the physical field of play, and that's like for esports, if you've ever seen, it's very loud, and so you have to worry about, you know, that bleeding into all of the microphones, everything. So we're using different AI tools to clean that up, but that's more latency. Right, so we have these different workflows to compensate for that, but it's quite a lot. You know, like we're looking. I think Eyal, correct me if I'm wrong, but like almost an entire you know, Artemis's worth of delays, like 250 different delay channels just to line everything up.
Blimey.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot. It sounds like you do need to join up with RTVE and the EBU, yes, and share some of what you're doing, because you've done a lot. And then with all that, what are the audio technologies, you know, the actual manufacturers and stuff, you can name any of those? What are you actually using to make this happen, or are you making it up yourself?
It's a bit of both, really. I think, you know, like we've had I think last time I was up here, I was like, oh, we should have a, you know, a layer 3 capable console that's fully distributed. I think like there's definitely been advancement in that area. remote control is almost as important as the transport layer. So like we've actually started using Calrex True Control 2.0 quite extensively. It's allowed us to replace the RP1 deployments in the field for full Type R. So basically now, whereas it was more of a transport and some basic mixing in the field, we now have like a fully fledged mixer that's completely remotely controlled. It also helps with, I think like during the panel before, where are the people, right? Like people are more comfortable to be on the ground because they can go touch things. But by removing some of those kind of limitations that come with the remote side of things, by putting things in front of operators that look exactly the same, because like if you're sitting in a truck and you're operating a channel, right, like with a specific DSP, well now we can just have that natively in the console, right? Like it looks no different. So that's definitely one. There's also, just like a combination of different software solutions. We're doing a lot more virtualized production because we're kind of we've got a very established vertical for tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 productions. Some of our events, they completely online, right? Like players play from their homes or their game houses, and the the talent is at home as well. So we're almost doing kind of like a co-streaming type situation, and that's all done in software. So I think a lot of the remote control capability, I think that's not, that sometimes goes by the wayside, right? Like everyone's concentrated on transport and how do we make those things better. But by improving the remote control aspect, we can do things remotely and locally at the same time as well, and make that all transparent and almost kind of like fake things locally that then for the audience looks as though like there is no difference.
Cool. It's great. It's really good. And then, last question for you. Get your crystal ball out. What audio technologies or ways of doing audio do you see, being the future of esports, the way Riot Games does it, and is there anything that manufacturers could create for you that doesn't yet exist?
I guess so for us, what we're starting to look at is, I think Rodrigo, we were talking about some of that kind of data-driven immersive audio. So for us, that's something that we are going to look at because, we have the telemetry, we have the data basically for free because it's our game, our server. And as I mentioned, like 80% of the content happens in the game. So by being able to use that to create a more immersive experience, and whatever tools allow us to do that, that's definitely something that we will be looking at. I think, again, it's all about the experience of our audience, and both in the venue and at home, right? And because, like I said, we go to vertical a lot. It's a kind of like some people would call it a limiting format, but I think there's been advancements there too, right? Like there's different headphones that can do immersive audio. There's platforms that are starting to focus on that a bit more. So I think just really enhancing that experience with immersive components, even in formats that you don't really think of as immersive, that's kind of where we're heading, I think.
Cool, brilliant. That's good. That's good. It just sort of like blows my mind a bit with esports compared to live sports broadcasting is complicated enough for regular sports. Then you go into your realm as well, which is complicated, very complicated. Do we have any questions for Alex? We do. We've got one. This gentleman here.
Hi, Andy.
Yes, it's coming.
Cool. Hi, Alex. Great to hear what you're doing. You talk about the virtual cameras, the observers that are in the game.
Yeah.
The virtual audio that you get for the production from the game, how is that controlled within the game? Is that moderated by what virtual camera angle you're taking? Can you explain a little bit about the derivative of the virtual audio as it comes out?
Yeah, and basically that. Part of the reason why we have those virtual cameras is because, like if you actually look at what the player sees during the game, it's crazy. They're moving so fast you would not be able to follow, like even if you knew what the game was. But yeah, it's largely guided by that. There are some levers that we can use, but it's not at the level where I think we'd like it to be. Just that, hence, kind of like what I was talking about, like the enhancement of the in-game component is really where I see us making a lot of progress in the future. Because right now it's quite basic, right? Like it's a basically audio follow video type situation.
Thank you.
Thanks. Any other questions for Alex? Oh, one over here.
It's a bit boring because it's more of a financial question, CapEx question. You built Dublin, and then you said, what, 3 years later?
It was basically a year later.
A year later. Oh, okay, I got 3 years because you said you get the capacity. But I'm just intrigued how you managed to plan something years, years in advance, which is exactly the same. Surely you're going to have to upgrade facility number 1 at a similar time to have that, because tech changes, right? Hardware changes.
Yeah, so just a bit. The reason why it was a year is because, like, since Dublin was the first, there was already a lot of products to onboard, so that kind of reached capacity a bit quicker than Seattle has. But to your question, I mean, no, it isn't possible. So when we did it, we kind of focused on creating some fundamentals that would not be changed, right? Like, because you know how many positions you need in a control room, right? Like, you need an audio control room. So some of those fundamentals and the way that the design kind of evolved, it was, again, it's all 2110, right? Like those things, we know that for the next 10, 15, 20 years, that's going to be current. But that's why we did Dublin first, because as those learnings, we kind of changed some things for Seattle, but then we retroactively deployed them. And that's the idea for all of our workflows, right? Like, even though the fundamentals are solid, some of the more technical details can change. New technologies, right? Like, for example, even now, right? Like, CalRec came out with True Control. We're like, okay, there are different things that we can do now, right? Like, the more doors are open. But the idea is not to paint yourself into a corner, right? And our philosophy is not to do a vendor lock-in, right? Like, so it's not kind of a walled garden where, hey, give us a 2110 environment. We do it all ourselves. We pick best in class, and then we kind of try to integrate it. Challenges with that, of course, but we find that that's a better long-term strategy.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you very much, Alex. That was absolutely fantastic. Give Alex a round of applause.